Welcome to the Silhouettes of Success podcast with your host, successful entrepreneur, broker, and business mentor, Amber Weitzer. Because success comes in all shapes, sizes, and styles, the Silhouettes of Success podcast is shining the light on industrious women with a collection of curated conversations of intentional inspiration designed to inspire your heart, ignite your mind, feed your soul, and gift you with actionable insights directly from inspirational, everyday women who've shown tenacity, grit, and grace, having taken on the challenges in their lives and business and won. Remarkable, down-to-earth, and relatable, Amber and her guests will share with you uplifting and extraordinary real-life success stories, motivational ideas that just might help spark something within you. With the deepest desire to serve you, help you grow so you can begin to shine the light that will illuminate your very own silhouette of success. So, let's get to it.
Hello, and welcome to the Amber Weitzer podcast, Silhouettes of Success. What a tremendous honor to introduce you to our silhouette of success today. She's engaging, captivating, brilliant, with a rock-solid reputation, proud mother, advocate of the community, and educator for all. Throughout her career, she has excelled, amassing some impressive accolades and achievements of the highest distinction. So please help me welcome Judge Susan Heygood-Mccoy. Hello, Susan.
Hello, Amber, and thank you so much for having me on your podcast and considering me a success. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for all that you've done for our community, and we are excited to visit with you today. Susan, it is such a pleasure to have you with us to share your silhouette of success with us. So let's help illustrate the early shaping of your silhouette of success for the audience by talking a little bit about your background. Do you mind sharing?
Not at all. What would you like to hear?
Yeah, so many times as young females, we might look at another strong, confident female and say, how did she get there? How does she do it? So anything you want to share about your education, your career, it's an open book.
I guess probably to understand me a little bit, I have a dad who is from Colombia, South America. And he came to the United States to get an education. He was the oldest boy in his family, and he was expected to get an education in the United States and return to help run his dad's business. But my father came to the United States, and he ended up getting an undergraduate degree, a master's from UVA, a PhD from Columbia, and did postdoctoral work at Harvard in a very specialized field of chemistry. He had one child, and that's me. And so he came from this very patriarchal background, but expected a lot of his kid. On the flip side, my mom was an artist and had been a runway model. And if you really think about it, looking back, I think as their only child, I was shaped both in terms of my love for fashion, probably came from my mother, and an intellect, although I'm not brilliant like my father, and the expectation that I would do something kind of big. So with those expectations, which even as a grown-up, you never feel like you've lived up to, I went to A&M, Texas A&M, Gig-'em-Ags, and then I went to law school at University of Houston, where I was on the law review, and then I graduated in 1992 and moved to Dallas to work for a big law firm and stayed there. I made partner, and then after 10 years, I left and started a small practice in Fort Worth. And then after 10 years of doing that, I ran for judge. That's kind of the summary.
Kind of the summary, she says. Oh, that is amazing. And I can see, obviously, both of your parents' influences in you from what I know. So we are all lucky and fortunate that you have that combination because it does exude in you, all of that. So, wow, that's an amazing background. With that, in your career, has there been a particular piece of maybe career advice or wisdom, and you're probably going to have a lot to maybe select from, that was shared with you that you have found invaluable? Maybe something that you share or pass on to others?
Well, I think probably the thing that rings the most true, although it was unhelpful at the time. My father, given the background I shared with you, did not do what his father expected of him. And as we all carry, parental expectations forward in our life, my dad's biggest mantra for me and later for my kids, who one's going to graduate from Baylor University in a few weeks. The other's in grad school in LA. Anyway, so my dad's advice was you should do something you love doing, and you shouldn't do something because other people expect it of you. And that if you love doing something, it is never work. And I'll say, as for my father, and everyone calls him Papa, he just turned 90, by the way. He is still publishing research papers in chemistry journals. He published 7 since COVID. So I think that's an example of someone who truly loves what he does. Now, with me, it was extremely unhelpful when I first started at A&M, because even though I guess all career options were open to women, there were a lot of career options that weren't expected of women. I will say that piece of advice was great, and looking back, it was true, but I didn't find it particularly helpful. What I do wish somebody had given me the advice of, amongst many other things, was you know what, girl, let everybody underestimate you. Go ahead and let them do that. There's a sweatshirt out there that pops up occasionally when I'm on Facebook in an ad, and it says, "Go ahead, underestimate me. That'll be fun." I think that, when you're young, you want to be taken seriously. And I fought against people underestimating me. And I fought it. It drove me crazy. It insulted me. I let it get to me. And, if somebody had just said, you know what, go and outwork them. That's how I've always gotten through things. I just work harder than people. I may not be brilliant, but I just work extremely hard. And if somebody had said, Susan, go ahead and let them underestimate you to their peril and just work harder than them, I don't know that I would have taken the advice, but that would have been really fabulous advice. And of course, my dad is right. I love what I do. I think about it all the time. I think about cases I have on my docket and both sides, and I play them out in my head and move pieces around and all that. I truly love what I do. So I guess that's a combination of what I was told, which was true, and what I wish I was told.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's the best of both worlds, to be able to combine those, both for you to have that clarity and be able to see that now. And of course, we always have that hindsight, don't we? When we look back and think, oh, I would have known. But now you're able to share that when you are teaching or when you are, having your conversations. And so that's amazing advice. That's phenomenal. I'm giggling because I can see you wearing that sweatshirt, very proud.
Well, I don't think I would wear
it.
it. I think it would probably be inappropriate to wear it. It might give away secrets, but yeah, and I'll tell you, the things I've done in my life. Amber, you and I know each other because we have kids in the same age group. I hope for our daughters, this is no longer the case. But for whatever reason, I don't know why. I think only the Lord knows why. I've always been drawn to things that are typically males. The fashion thing is kind of a one-off because I do enjoy nice clothes and heels but other than that, I'm really a pretty big tomboy at heart. So, I wanted to go to law school. Then when I graduated, I didn't want to be stuck writing briefs. I wanted to be a trial lawyer. And then I wanted to be a medical malpractice trial lawyer, which was at the time one of the more complex areas to be a trial lawyer. I wanted to talk to juries. And, then I wanted to start my own law firm. And then I wanted to run for judge, which is an elected position, which means you actually run on the ballot with the president or the governor, depending on what year it is. And my interest on top of all of that is aviation. And so somewhere in there, around 2006, I think, I got my pilot's license. And if you want to, and I bought a little plane and I flew it around for a while. It was great. But if you want to think of a profession that there's not many women in, it's when you're flying an airplane and you're talking to air traffic control and you realize you're the only female voice out there, and you feel like you're getting the sort of the like extended landing pass, around like the cow field.
Oh, it's interesting that you point that out too, because it goes back to what you mentioned earlier with the sweatshirt, that you hope that's not going to be the case much longer, if you will, with our daughters in the future. So isn't that curious? Speaking of your accomplishments and what you are drawn to or were drawn to with your career decisions and all of your goals, was there or is there a specific or special accomplishment over your career that maybe you're most proud of? And talk a little bit about that and what it means to you.
Well, that's funny you should ask that. So in my office, I have all kinds of certificates. I'm a member of lots of boards. I have diplomas and other things framed, but my two favorite things are framed, and they are over the mirror that I look at when I put on my robe. So when you're a judge, you have chambers, and it's separate than the courtroom. So when you're about to walk in the courtroom, you put your robe on over what you're wearing, and I have a mirror right there. And so my robe hangs on a hook that's got a flying pig, sort of like getting me ready for the fact that I may be hearing things that are probably not entirely true. And then I zip up my robe, and over it, there's a piece of driftwood that my mother, who went to art school, she had painted on it for my father. And it says in Latin, it's Latin for "Don't let the bastards get you down." And my dad had that in his office his entire time he was a professor. And then when he retired, I took it, and it's been in my office ever since. So that's right above the mirror. And then over that, there's two certificates. And of all the certificates, those are the most important to me. One of them is for ethics. That's kind of interesting because you get rated as far as your legal ethics by your peers, and you don't know it. There's a company called Martindale-Hubbell, and they interview people who they can tell based upon records that you've had cases against. And that's how you get your ethical rating. And there's A, B, and C. I've never heard anything lower than that. And you have no control over what people say, and then you just get this rating. Mine is AV preeminent, which is kind of like A plus. And to me, having a certificate reminding me that my ethics are the most important thing is probably far superior to almost any other accolade I've gotten. The other one is from a company called ABOTA, ABOTA, and it stands for American Board of Trial Advocates. That is the organization that you have to be invited to, and you have to have tried first chair as a lawyer a certain number of cases, a large number. So you have to have been the first chair lawyer in a large number of trials. And I got into a BOTA a few years before I ran for judge. And let me tell you, I'm the only female ABOTA member in Tarrant County, or at least I was at the time. And so those two things, both that I'm a true trial lawyer, I actually tried cases, and I got recognized for it by, this organization and was invited to join. And my ethics are probably my two most important accolades, and I remind myself of them because I have them right over the mirror that I look at before I go out to the courtroom.
Well, phenomenal, impressive, and that's fantastic. And I sit here and I'm visioning that as you're describing it, because you illustrated it so perfectly. Great daily affirmations. Probably, what are you, several times a day you look at that and have that routine?
Well, the truth is, I really honestly don't look in the mirror, but I do pass by it. And so when I go out to the courtroom, now that we have been remote for so long and we're starting to get back in, but it's just nice to have it there. The other thing I have that I look at when I pass by down the hallway outside of my chambers, I'm headed to the courtroom. There's a little corner. I have a prayer chair there. It's just an old chair, and I put it there to remind myself to pray before I walked into the courtroom. And then later I went to Uganda on a missions trip, and I have pictures of all the little Ugandan orphans hanging up by the prayer chair. And again, it's not that I sit in the prayer chair, it's a reminder to pray before I walk into the courtroom. I'll tell you that sometimes I'm faced with huge decisions with good lawyers on both sides, both making very logical arguments. And I simply have to make a decision and I have to do it then. And, oftentimes there's a lot of money, sometimes millions, sometimes tens of millions of dollars riding on it. And what I've learned to do is when I turn that corner and I'm about to open the door to the back of the courtroom to walk up to the bench, I will see the bright colors of the little orphans and I'll see my prayer chair. And even though I don't sit in it, kind of like the certificates, I don't necessarily look at them. But when I pass by the prayer chair, if I'm having a really hard time, I say, God, please speak through me. Let what comes out of my mouth be the wise and right answer. And it's amazing how it works. I wish I remembered to do that every day, but I don't.
The awareness of that is tremendous. It's very moving. Powerful would be how I sum it up in listening to you say that. That's amazing.
Everybody needs something. You can't be right all the time. And that's the beautiful thing about being a judge is usually on some of the bigger cases, you get really good lawyers. And I loved being a lawyer. I loved being in trial. But I'll tell you, being a judge kind of gives you the whole picture because you don't have to just argue one side. And if you're nerdy like I am and really love the logic of the law, to hear both sides and like map it all out in your head as to what they're arguing and what exceptions there are to their arguments and what the other side is arguing and like kind of where it fits in the big picture, and how that would move forward to go to trial. There's lots of decisions along the way. And one of the beautiful things about being a trial judge is we know we have a very good court of appeals, the Second Court of Appeals in Fort Worth. And there is a lot of comfort to knowing that they're smart. And if I get something wrong, they'll turn it around. That gives me a ton of comfort to know that because, you try your best, you read everything, you prepare for things. And then sometimes you get these really fantastic arguments where you could really go either way. And you simply, at that point, hopefully I remember to just pray, and with the comfort of knowing that there's a really smart body of appellate judges who will straighten me out if I've gotten it wrong.
Yeah, so prepare, practice, and prayer.
I had not come up with that, but I know you have a little logo that you go by, kind of a first thing in the morning logo, and I may steal that one from you.
I'm in line with what you say when you talk about you and your role, but a lot of us out in the audience too, and in their individual roles, you do the best you can do. You try to do, of course, the right thing all the time. But yeah, you practice it and you've just got to be diligent in that. And sometimes they say there's danger in perfect. So making that decision and going with it. Yours obviously in a whole nother realm than ours. But
well, Amber, that's a very good point. I don't think that even at my age and just I'm 54, there is the perfectionism thing. And I think that's a byproduct. Maybe all people have it, but I think successful women, as we're talking about today, there is the problem with feeling like you have to be too perfect. And that's one that, I think we all work on. And, I think I can say out loud to you that, sometimes I know I'm going to get it wrong, but does it still bother me when I find out that I did? Absolutely. So that's a lifelong problem. We can't be perfect. There was only one perfect person.
Yes, yeah. We are works in progress. So
all the time.
Yes, amen. Yes, yes. So it's interesting. You just mentioned something that was a question of mine. So I'm going to jump to that real quick to stay on that train of thought. But being so strong and successful, and again, success, I feel, is defined by our individual definition of that for our own lives or careers, whatever we're looking for. But where or who do you turn to for support?
It probably depends on the topic. I have some really great girlfriends who do not practice law, are not in the legal field at all. And I call them my tribe. When I have to do really hard things personally, they're usually there for me. I wish that I could say that I willingly turn all my problems over to them because I don't. I should do it more. But when I've had to, they've really been there for me on personal things. One of my biggest mentors was a woman who was a judge. And I used to go to her all the time for help when I was a young judge, not necessarily in making a decision, but help in figuring out what I was doing and how I was going to get there. But she's now on the Court of Appeals. So the funny thing is I can't call her anymore because she's one of those people who's going to check my homework as a judge. I would also say, one of the things, my spiritual life has grown greatly, and in large part, it's because of my daughter. So a lot of times, with spiritual things, I'll go to her, just kind of an interesting turnaround. And then, the other thing is, my faith is really strong. And a lot of times I'll just go walk the dog and listen to spiritual music and again try to remember to talk to God. That's the thing is my faith has increased greatly, but we all are a work in progress in that regard, I would guess as well.
Yeah. And I tell you, you just shared about your daughter. Is it not one of the most joyful moments, lots of them, I think, collectively, when we see whether it's your son or your daughter, because you and I have one of each too.
Correct.
But when they turn around and and we look at them in awe, because sometimes I know that my daughter is so far ahead of me in the enlightenment stage, and she always has been. But isn't it great
I got goosebumps when you said that, because that is so true. I didn't mean to cut you off, but really, I mean, when you actually look at your kids and realize that, in some things they just know more or have a better sense. They've ceased being your child and you realize they're an adult. And the downside to that is the realization that they're not going to always do what you want them to do. But you get over that quickly, because if you just appreciate them for the young adult they are, they're so freaking amazing. Isn't that true?
It is awesome. I'm so glad you brought that up. It is, yes. Okay, so now we're both goosebumping because, it just makes you just embrace it. And I relish in just their beyond years in their elevation sometimes in so many of the things. And so it's such a treat to have them turn around and share with us. So what a joy. So, Susan, we're going to take a 2-second pause here for a sponsor break, and we'll be right back.
All right. Thanks, Amber.
Is it time to sell your home? Build that dream home? Right size? Or are you ready to invest in real estate? Couture Real Estate Firm is a local female-owned independent brokerage laser-focused on services exclusively tailored to our clients' real estate goals. With our forward-thinking business model, we have a fully mobile, luxury real estate concept allowing convenience, flexibility, efficiency for our clients in style. Amber Weitzer, broker-owner of Couture Real Estate Firm, has over 20 years in the real estate industry and is a second-generation broker. She provides straightforward business practices, integrity, and intelligence with a commitment to a high-touch, consistent customer service experience. We take great pride in our reputation as a strong, referral-based brokerage. Discretion, tenacity, respect, and proactive business practices have earned Couture Real Estate Firm a loyal, repeat client business with a trusted global partner network. We strive for ultimate client satisfaction with successful results, doing it with class, consciousness, and a little avant-garde. In addition to serving our clients and vendor partners, we are extremely honored to be actively engaged in supporting the communities we serve by promoting small businesses, schools, and nonprofits. Real estate is direct sales business at its core, and we are highly trained sales professionals with the Mike Ferry organization, adding dimension to the industry. Passionate about customer service, dedicated to client satisfaction, and driven to achieve successful results for our clients. Call Couture Real Estate Firm today at 817-233-7239 to discuss your real estate goals.
All right, my lady. So we are back. So let's talk a little bit about, do you happen to have any maybe intrinsic motivators, or how do you stay on track with your goals, or what suggestions might you share with the audience?
It's funny. My daughter's graduating from college, and my group of mom friends, my tribe, as I described them, we were coming up with some quotes for a goodie box we're doing, the last college goodie box that we're doing for our daughters. And, there's so many good ones, but most of them only make sense after the fact, or at least to me. I mean, I think you can be bombarded with quotes and thoughts, but I guess what I would really say looking back on my life is I think the one thing that I've had that I don't know how you bottle it up and give it to somebody or explain it, but like most of the things I've wanted to try, I've tried. Thank goodness most of them have been legal and have led to success in my life. But I guess would be my point. But just the courage that like you can do anything you want. You just have to actually start, You just have to make it a goal and go there. There's lots of people who are going to look at you funny or ask why you suddenly want to do something that seems so out of their expectations. But people get used to it. I mean, when I started flying an airplane, after a while, everyone just knew that on Sundays after church, I was going to go flying an airplane. But, really almost anything is possible. That's a little overwhelming when you're young because you kind of want somebody to say, yeah, but why don't you start here? I think that your imagination is the only thing that like would limit you as to what you could do. I don't know if I answered your question, but if I personally need motivation, there's people I can talk to. A lot of times I'll spend time by myself, walk my dog, talk to God. And sometimes you just need to be. Sometimes, you need to let yourself be. I've found if you try to do something when you're kind of in a funk, you don't do as good a job in it. Obviously, you can spend too long in a funk, become unproductive. But I think we also need to, high motivated people need to occasionally not feel guilty when they just sit down and do nothing like read a book or watch something on TV. I mean, it's good for you.
It's so cool that you said that because one of the next questions would have been, how do you relax, unwind, and, recharge especially after, different environments that we're in and it's high intensity. And you just nailed it without me having to ask. But I completely agree with you, especially in the hyper connected world that we're in. Sometimes you need to just be. And I saw a quote or, like similar to what you were talking about, because I was teasing daughter and I'm like, what are you doing? And, giving the list and how about this? And, what are you doing in this time? And she said, sometimes relaxing is productive, Mom. I thought, no way. And I kid you not, no sooner did I see a quote later on social media and it was, rest is productive. I thought, okay, again, we're back to they know best sometimes.
I agree. I feel like I'm not particularly helpful when I try to encourage my kids. I mean, I know they can do anything, but sometimes I try to guess what they need to hear, at the moment. And,
Yeah.
They get older, you can't do that for them. And I think just there's nothing you can't do. It might take you longer, it might be harder. Getting over the fear of trying something new. It's scary for everybody. It's scary for
Yes.
me. I don't know why I've always had the personality to go ahead and do it anyway. I think I read one time that one of our president's wives, it might have been Nancy Reagan, said, do something every day that scares you. And I actually saved it and I copied it and I put it under the glass on my desk at work. Do something every day that scares you. Like, huh.
Yeah. And it can be big or small. Isn't that interesting too, right? It could just be something tiny, or it could be
what
something
about the
like
little things that we waste so much energy and so much emotion on that really is such a small blip in the road, But we do. We all do, every single one of us.
Raising my hand.
But yeah, no, all in all, I will say this. I think for me, success, I wanted to be a judge. I came from an intellectual family. I'm very interested in the law. I loved my time as a lawyer. And you can certainly make a lot more money as a lawyer than you can as a judge. And I'll tell you, being a judge, it hits all the right buttons for me. And I love that work. I don't know if all our listeners know, but you do have to run for office every 4 years. And that is something that scared me and still is unpleasant. I'm in my third term on the bench, and that scares me. I'm glad to feel like I'm a success in my field. Everybody has areas they could improve on, and I certainly do too. I love my career and I love being a judge. So thank you.
Well, we are so grateful that you do what you do for all of us. And I'll tell you, and we're going to wrap it up here in respecting your schedule. But one of my most favorite moments early on in your election, maybe the first, was a red scooter moment.
Yes, I had a dear friend, and I know you know who she is, and she set up a little get together for people to meet me when I was first running for judge. That would have been back in 2011, 2012. I don't know if I can plug something, but it's Yoga Place, and it had like scooters in its name, and it had red scooters out front. So there was a picture of me sitting on a red scooter, and I think I was wearing something red at the time. So that picture stuck around for a long time. It's so true though. I think one of the reasons that picture kind of worked out is it just showed me being myself and not trying to look all stiff and judge like because we're all goofy, silly people in our heart.
Yeah, I took that picture.
Oh, Amber, I didn't know that. I don't remember that.
You remember that? Yes, that's what was so funny too. Yeah, that was a fun time. That was a fun little time. So
it was fun for you. Running for office wasn't so fun for me the first time. Talk about being terrified. If anyone's listening and they're thinking about doing something they're afraid, I will tell you, I fully understand. That was terrifying. But you know what? The thing is I did it, and in the end, I guess it was meant to be. But yeah, I did not know you took that picture. I have to give you extra photo credit for that.
Well, I tell you what, you talk about the fear and that you did it, and we've talked about that in other, interviews and different things. But that four-letter word, in fact, I just did a post on it this past week, is debilitating. And so conquer it, go for it, take somebody along with you for the ride to help you over those humps, just like you talked about, because we can get through it. It's so thank you for mentioning that. All right, milady. So as we wrap up, it's been a true privilege and pretty fun visiting with you today. And in keeping the promise to share intentional inspiration with our audience, is there a key go-to piece of advice that you'd like to share with us?
Believe in yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's powerful. Enough said. Yeah, wow. Writing it, that's what needs to go over the mirror for me, right? For all of us.
I think for all of us. I do have a quote in my bathroom. So I guess little known fact, judges, we have chambers that are separate from the courtroom, and chambers are just our offices. But we have bathrooms. And so if I really have to prepare for something and there's so much going on everywhere else, I have a chair in the bathroom and I'll go and sit in there and close the door because no one will bother me. Anyway, I have a quote in there and I like it. I think it's a little tongue in cheek. It's not necessarily 100% true, but it says that that men fear nothing more than a woman who is not afraid. I'm getting it wrong, but yeah, I think everybody has fear. I guess it's sort of like along the lines of the everyone puts their pants on one leg at a time kind of theory. Just because you don't look like the other judges doesn't mean you can't be one. I get some real kick out of the fact I sit on the bench in the courtroom, and there's the pictures of all the retired judges on the walls, and you don't get to put your picture on the wall till you've retired or lost an election. So there's 4 of them in my court. So as long as the court's been around, there's been 4 judges who preceded me in this court, and I keep looking at them and thinking how strange it's going to look when I retire and hang up a picture of myself because, they're for the most part much older, gray haired, kind of plump men with glasses. And so, that Sesame Street song, one of these things is not like the other. I think to myself, like, when my picture goes up there, it's going to be it's going to stick out. So, but that's all right. It doesn't mean anything, everybody's mind is attuned to what they're good at, and you don't have to look like everybody else to do what they do if that's what you want to do. So
that's right. We are all unique talents, unique everything, and that's what makes the world go round. Love that.
Amen.
Love
Amen.
that. Well, all right, Susan, as we close out, where can our audience go to find, connect, or support you, maybe on your socials or anything you'd want to share?
I do have a Facebook page, Instagram, and Twitter page. I just finished an election in 2020 in November. I always run with the presidential cycle. So it is McCoy for Judge, and you can find me at all of those locations, www.mccoyforjudge.com, McCoy for Judge, and Facebook. I've had that since I first ran in 2011, 2012. You can find me there. I will tell you that I'm not spending as much time on it lately because the election's over, and I'm trying to get back to just being a judge and, being a mom and a friend to everybody. So, but it is there, and there are questions that I can answer. I also have a Facebook page that you can easily find because it's just Susan Heygood-Mccoy. I'm happy to talk to anybody. You can message me through Facebook, either through the campaign site or through my regular Facebook page. And I'm happy to give anybody advice or support. We all have areas of our life that we've done well in. Just because I have sort of publicly done well in my field of, the law, doesn't mean I don't struggle with other things. So.
Yeah, human. We are human.
We are indeed. So, well, thank you, Amber. Thank you for having me on your podcast. I appreciate it. It was an honor even to be asked, because the title of it does sort of take you back. It's like Silhouettes of Success. Wow. Thank you. Thank you for asking me. So I appreciate it so much.
Well, thank you, Susan. And thank you once again for sharing your silhouette of success with us. My heart is full of gratitude, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.
You too, Amber, and I hope to see you soon.
Sounds good. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Silhouettes of Success podcast. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out, and join us for all the new episodes. We are here for you and with you. We encourage you to share this podcast on all your socials and pass on the light to help illuminate another silhouette of success. Amber would love to hear from you, and you can find her on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, or head over to amberweitzer.com. Let's connect. Help us all shine and leave us a review too. To find out the latest ways to inspire your heart, ignite your mind, and gain actionable insights, subscribe at amberweitzer.com. We are honored, humbled, and full of joy that you've tuned in. Remember, you are exactly where you need to be, right here with us. This is the Amber Weitzer podcast, Silhouettes of Success.